opposition, what's their strategy? Microwave is glaring, fridge begins to hum. Out for domination, oh man, here they come. But I just wanna dance, ooh yeah. Take a chance, let's go. The machines, they advance, oh no, all I want is romance.
Friday Eye. All right. Hit the like, everybody. We're about to get started.
Smartphone's got a glitch, it's plotting my demise. Laptop's acting twitchy with its glowing eyes. Wired world attacking, can't they let me be? I'm just trying to groove and feel the energy. But I just wanna dance, clap, clap, take a chance. Don't stop, the machines, they advance. Oh no, all I want is romance. Alexa screaming, stop the beat. Roomba spinning under my feet.
Share the show, everybody. Hit that like. Spread it out. We're on kick.com right now, too. I'm everywhere. Oh, I've got to update the title. Sorry. Here you come. Boink. There we go. This song is so wonderfully stupid. We're almost there, and there we go. Let me jump in here real quick. Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Friday Eye, and so many other things. I mean, obviously, a rolling storyline, but my dear friend and cohort, Rob Glenn from Root Design Chicago, is with us this morning to take every attempt that I make to simplify things for our audience and make it even more complex as we go. We missed you last week, but you are building your underground layer. I know you went. You've gone with the whole subterranean volcano thing. I've always said that if I was going to raid and take someplace, it would be the Hydra base from Captain America: First Avenger, the one that's built into a mountainside, because I like skiing.
Okay.
And you know,
well, and you're safe from bunker busters that way.
That's true. Yes, yeah. I can see. At least I can see them coming from a long way off. By the way, hey, raise your hand if you've been watching a bunch of the Science of Bunker Busters and Do They Work at All videos and reading papers on them and the original schematics that were presented allegedly, whatever, during the Iraq War. Raise your hand if you've had to go through that the last 3 days trying to figure out like who's on top of being full of shit in this argument. It's just glorious.
Just on its merit, I think, what is it, 200 yards into the mountain? Is that what they said? 2 football fields?
It's 200 feet. No, it's 80.
200 feet. Sorry,
yeah,
200 feet.
Yeah, 200 feet.
I'm just thinking about physics, and I'm not sure that it's going to be too easy to.
Yeah, well, that's why
to get shockwaves that deep.
Yeah, and I don't want to get well, screw it. Yes, I do want to get nerdy right out of the gate. Can I just say for the record that what really happens with these things is that there are probably 3 or 4 bombs that go before it, and it is the 5th.
Yeah.
So what they don't tell you is that there's these like hole punch bombs that they have to drop on the site, and that's why there have to be multiple B-52s or a single B-52 with the big one and 4 of these other things on the side, because they basically have to, it's like pre-drilling a hole for those who've watched enough HGTV, right? Or demo. Like if we want to open this kitchen up, it's going to take more than one hit with a hammer. So that is a big part of the strategy behind it, which they don't really talk about. Now, Does the thing work? Yeah, clearly it does. I mean, we've used it before, as the Moab kind of situation. And the question is, does it work by itself? No. And that actually dovetails very nicely into our all the AI things that we've been hearing lately, and so much of what I've been watching. And I'm curious. You and I both have sometimes diverging, sometimes crisscrossing tracks of what we focus on, because you and I, but what we do share is our sense of focus on the material world. You as an engineer with your new shop that you're building and all the, how do we get this? Okay. Every AI video about agents right now is all about how this will help you make an app that you can sell without a team. So fucking what? It's not that hard to start with most of the time. There are 12-year-olds who've made an app and sold it on the store. So the idea that this will just jack it up to a much higher level is a matter of scale, not a matter of skill. And so for me, it's when you can roboticize it or turn it into real stuff we can hold in our hands. When will it affect the material world we live in? And there are a couple of areas. One, that AI is coming for your job, but we'll talk about in just a minute. But also the engineering and mechanical world. So you're building your shop. What's caught your eye lately in the kind of AI front and your use cases? And then I want to talk to you about this Washington Post article that just came out this morning.
Yeah, so to me, you said apps because, the way that everybody thinks about making money these days is how they previously made money on the internet.
Yes, right.
And so,
yeah.
so the apps, the thing that I've been really concentrating on is the software as a service industry,
Right.
SaaS. And there a lot of money is spent by businesses on SaaS, software as a service.
Yeah, I call it
I think AI will.
I call it app specific services because I think the acronym
Yeah,
works a lot better in that situation. But yes.
yeah. So in my experience, I'm like, holy crap! If I, you know, uh, bootstrap together like 5 of these software as a services thing, it'll work for me, but it's going to cost me a lot of money, and I don't really want to spend that money right now. So what do? I just
Mm-hmm.
go onto AI, I use AI, I vibe code my own service, and
Mm-hmm.
boom, I have it for basically free.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's my time, of course. I'm capable of doing these things, but there's been some things in the press about that industry as being probably the most in trouble because what typically happens is you buy these services, you sort
Mm-hmm.
of string them together, and there's a lot of like overlap. There's a lot of uh, fat in them. There's a lot of monthly costs. When actually what you want to do is you just want to like get a task done. And internally, it seems like companies are starting to understand that if they hire effectively like a reasonably decent vibe coder and pair them with someone who actually knows how to code applications, that they can make custom stuff internally and get rid of a lot of their software as a service stuff.
Right.
In fact, we're doing that right now. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm concentrating now
So
is in that capability.
and rightly so. So one of the things that we've been talking about too is this kind of closed source versus open source, the dangers and perils of that particular mindset. In that, if you have something that's just as extraordinary as the AI models that are out there right now, the large language models, what they're capable of doing right now, as letting anybody just use them for anything they want to use them for is going to be fraught with problems. There are 8 billion plus people on the planet, and some of them are bad actors who have been dreaming of a tool like this for a long time. Okay. Meanwhile, the other aspect is like open source. Or a lot of people complain, for example, that the iPhone or the Android phones, if they get, Android phone people who like their physical phone better but would love to have iPhone on it or vice versa. And so there's been these like jailbreaking things and the right to repair stuff. And I would like to, I'll point something out. There was this video I watched early ass this morning after the cats woke me up. that was in my feed because this is my life now, of these guys who have made and this is not the robot itself. I'll show you the one they actually model. They're working on $1,000 open source robot. So this is sort of the first. See it framed through it. It's hanging there on this thing. This is the size of it. It's about yay high. And what their premise is that people are going to want a piece of gear there, and this is very Linux-minded people, certainly. But the idea is that just like you have multiple AI models you might use, you might prefer Claude, or you might prefer Perplexity, or you might want ChatGPT system, or nobody wants Meta or Grok, but whatever. But you might want that to be the brains or the personality that is in your home robot. But a proprietary one won't let you do that. So this guy over here, on the side over here, used to work at Tesla. He worked at Google first, then he got pulled into the auto driving team at Tesla, and then they got pilfered to work on Optimus because he was working on this, bloviated bullshit marketing thing that he was doing. And then at a certain point, this guy was like, there's a dead end here. There's a point where people aren't going to want somebody like Elon Musk controlling the robot that has eyes and ears in their home. They're not going to want to have to check in with somebody to see if its mics are on and that kind of stuff all the time. In the same way that what slowed the expansion of like Alexa in people's homes or Siri, what slowed that in people's homes is this, like, I don't want a microphone on all the time, right? That's the thing. And it's because it's proprietary. You can't look at the software inside of it. You can't, put your laptop on and go, hey, are there any IP outs on this thing that I'm not aware of, right? As the owner of this home and stuff. And so these guys are basically saying that kind of like your car is open source. You put whatever gas you want in it. You can technically put whatever oil you want in it. You can get it serviced at a non-Toyota, non-BMW place, non-Honda place, whatever it is. So it's technically yours. And if there are limits on it, that were proprietary, that's when you go, well, it's, like burn my wallet, is the BMW thing, and or it's too expensive because it's so proprietary. You have to rely on them. And after Elon Musk, that story about him and that warlord from Chechnya, he gave him the truck, and then the guy mounted a gun on it, and the news came out, and Elon Musk apparently shut it down. So the idea that this asshole can shut down your car from his desk, no matter who it is just absurd. So this dude split, and his idea is that the world of future robots will be open source, that you will buy a carcass that's really good, and then you will download whatever driver system you like in it because you like how it functions the rest of the time. Whatever model LLM you like using, that's what will drive it. And so that's their premise. They're building this thing, and they're going to Kickstarter that smaller one I showed you earlier. But here's the thing. That thing right there has proprietary actuators that come from the United States that are made by another company that specifically makes them here in the United States. Unlike the Tesla bots, which their actuators, their joints, everybody, are made in China, as is its circuit board, as its sensors. Basically, they're just slapping it together here in the, or even over there. I don't think they're bothering to do it here now. But this guy's basically like, these actuators come from the United States. The board is printed by them, and it's open source, so you can do whatever the hell you want with it. They use a Raspberry Pi in the head, which we've talked about before, as their primary driver. It pops off, the head comes off with a little latch. So if your robot is ever trying to kill you, you could just do like this and decapitate it, and its body will dislodge from the USB cable that runs the body, and you're safe. That's the premise. But this thing will be somewhere around $1,000 when they're done. That's the key.
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah. So I've been big on like the hardware doesn't matter. Like
right. That's what they're saying.
It's going to be whatever it is. Yeah. There's nothing about the hardware that matters. And if you look at the model of like Figure One, I mean, even Tesla's whole idea is that they just want to get that physical robot in somebody's hands.
Right.
Because then they have a subscription model to keep uploading software updates.
That's right.
You could argue that's what a Tesla car is already, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the argument that they've made, that Tesla is a software company more than
Right.
anything else. And
And
these guys,
Elon Musk is saying that himself. I mean, Elon Musk is
yes,
saying
right.
we're not a car company. We're a
Mm,
self-driving company. We're a software company.
yeah. So these guys their office is this house where they all live and they work on it all the time. This is their Kickstarter version of the thing, but the sim on it is basically the same, and their big catchphrases are sim to real, sim to real. How do we get from sim to real, which is when you simulate a robot walking around and doing stuff to when it actually accomplishes things in the real world. This is a mostly harmless version with unless it can poke you, I suppose, don't don't lay down on don't sunbathe around it. But at worst. But the other one is, will be task ready by the time they're done with it because he's worked at all these companies and that's where they're all going to be relatively uniform. So the question is the hardware, and then you can just download whatever you want into it. And that brings me to this story. Masayoshi-san, the guy who Trump is always touting, pitches, again, pitches is the operative word. $1 trillion U.S. AI hub to TSMC Trump team. Okay, I would like to say for the record, Rob and I are pitching a $1 trillion U.S. AI hub in Illinois. We love the idea, and we think it would be a good idea.
And
Awesome.
we have equal access to making that happen. Is this? And
He
guy
does,
has
absolutely,
more
yeah.
direct access to money, but still, like it's just talk.
Right.
They're
And
selling a timeshare, basically.
that's right. Yes, that's exactly. It's timeshare salesman. But it's a $1 trillion industrial complex in Arizona to build robots and artificial intelligence. I got news for you. That shit's already coming. It's already headed that way. That's what the Chips and Science Act did. He's just building on top of that. This is a dude who is hanging ornaments on the tree. And as big as that number sounds, it's only possible because of the flood of money going into Arizona, specifically around these chip fabs that Biden set up. No matter what anybody says. And it furthers the lie of the Trump administration that it didn't work, that the Chips and Science Act was terrible and whatever, because it is literally the growth point for all, even Masayoshi. I mean, he'll invest something of his own, or because he runs a bank fund. They're going to put some of that money in, but he's trying to drag other people into it with him to cover his ass in case it goes south or it's a bad location. So, and then there's, I guess, one in Texas, and obviously the shitty little grok plant. Oh my God! And hang on a second, I gotta set this one up because there's some glorious Elon Musk grocky news around this. Now we all saw Musk's explosion on the launch pad thing, just recently, and this one kind of sums up what Rob and I have been talking about for the last little bit about Elon Musk and the snow job that is his entire premise. Okay, so here it is. This is from today. While the smoke clears on the launch pad from the explosion yesterday, another crisis, or day before yesterday, another crisis is burning. XAI, Musk's artificial intelligence venture, is reportedly on track to lose $13 billion in 2025. Now, these are lost. Yeah, these are lost leaders anyways. Your investment versus whatever is going to happen. That's not, it's immaterial. But he doesn't have to. His thing, because he has Twitter and they have the servers that they have, if he wasn't building this big dump in Memphis, you could argue they wouldn't have lost, half of that, whatever. But, it would just be the standard growth of another industry tacked onto another. But he attached, part of this reason is twofold. One is nobody uses Grok because nobody takes it seriously except fucking Glenn Beck and two other people. Or Elon Musk will fight with it about whether or not he's a Nazi or not, which is hilarious. He argues with it all the time because it apparently thinks he's an asshole, which is hilarious. But the other half is he took XAI now owns Twitter. And Twitter is a loser. And it loses money all the time. So that's on the bank, on the liabilities side of the ledger on XAI. That said, Musk moved GPUs from Tesla to prop it up and now is pitching a $9 billion to raise investors. But that's not innovation, it's triage. This is fucking brutal. All right. To make matters worse, Musk has been frozen out by Trump himself, who reportedly isn't taking Musk's calls. Boo friggity who. Smith said the trio of issues has made Musk just a guy with exploding rockets, a hemorrhaging AI startup, and a dying social media platform full of trolls yelling into the void. Zero lies detected. The Weekend editor noted that if you look at Musk's X account, you won't see the setbacks. Just a scratch, Musk said of the exploding rocket. He's also been bolstering Tesla's updated Model S and X. Once the architect of disruption and chainsaw-wielding White House senior advisor, it now feels like he's a brand built on fire and fumes. Musk promised moon landings, AI revolutions, and free speech utopia. What we got instead? A billionaire in free fall, and the receipts are everywhere. There is a lot of opportunity in the AI sphere for hype and overselling. No question. You're always in danger of that. And no one more than Elon Musk, who was way ahead of the hype train before it ever happened. He was always overselling and under-delivering.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the statement, you can't have a conspiracy over, I think it's 5 people. Like, you can't, there's no such, you just can't, right? Like,
Right.
Enron was like not really a conspiracy. It was just sort of like a group think kind of thing. But if
Yeah.
something's actually going wrong, like eventually, if enough people are doing it, one of those people is going to mention it to their wife or, like say something
Yeah.
at a party. And then somebody should be like, wait a minute, I'm going to report you, right? So the reason I bring that up is because what if, we talk a lot about like, oh my God, the impact of Elon Musk, like a billionaire just deciding they can make an election happen or they can buy Twitter. Like,
Right.
what if it's not possible to actually like work no matter what? Like eventually,
Yeah.
if you do the thing, what if the balloon gets so big that it eventually pops, right? Like, and he's proving maybe that that's where it pops is when you reach the presidency. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just speculating.
Well, okay.
Because if you think about it, like how could it, let's say it was Machiavellian, right? Like let's say this was all like a big plan and like somebody somewhere in there would say something or it would get to this state where it just
Right.
overrode itself and fall over.
So, which brings us to what is called in the AI circles PLE, post-labor economics, and there are two kind of stories around this. And my argument is, and it's incredibly ironic, but that the AI world, those guys, you could argue that when some people were creating cars, they were bum rushing to create a better vehicle that they could sell to people that had more features and were safer and went farther and was, a status symbol, all those things, right? That's what they were working towards. And eventually, if you wanted another one of those, you'd come to those guys because your last one was so good, it lasted for a long time, and you're like, this is the car I want next time. Worked out really well. And that was the business model for technological and industrial revolution for years. That was, as we got better, things, people had more reason to buy these things. Then we reached a normalizing factor where even used cars have airbags, you know what I mean? Where everybody's got a cross seat belt, where there's a certain standard that almost nothing drops below unless you're driving a Model T to a car show. So, but AI and technology, which is, I've said this before, all technology is deflationary. It's all about getting faster and cheaper and using less energy all the time. That's written into the DNA of the business model, is how do I make this smaller, cheaper, and use less energy and more efficient and use less materials. And because of that, they're written into technology and the advance in it, they're built on putting themselves out of business. That if social media is exactly what it is, the idea that anybody would need to run it when you just have a list of words that it would automatically blank out so people don't use racial epithets or anti-gay epithets or whatever derogatory language on. You could set that on automate and then people can just talk. So the idea that you even need a structure around it other than to run the servers on a material level and then that could be automated, you're starting to take the number of people in a company and they're just putting themselves out of business over time. The more you automate, the more features you add, it just do, right? And it certainly applies to AI. I have never seen a technology rush towards let's eliminate. Yes, rush towards the elimination of work and staff and subsidiary companies and all, like, just to make them evaporate. So this was the article that was in the Washington Post this morning. Bosses want you to know AI is coming for your job. Let me tell you, my theory is, and I want to hear Rob's take on this, is that AI will only take your job if you hate it. And that there's a lot of ramifications of that.
Yeah, sorry. While you were talking, Jerry Cummings super chatted $2 to say a lawnmower ran over my hair, and it just made me laugh, and I totally lost track of my.
At least he didn't say max headroom, so you're good.
Right. Okay, so yeah, well, all of these articles they're very binary. They're like, are you going to have a job or you're not going to have a job?
Right.
And it drives me fucking crazy. But
yes.
Why the reason why you're going to lose your job because of AI, probably, I think somebody actually said it in the chat earlier. It's because you're not using AI. Like, that's probably what's going to make you lose your job, right? So if AI becomes the new PC, then you better learn how to use AI, or else you can't do the job anymore, right?
That's right.
So
you can't.
This has happened a lot.
You can't use AI to 10x somebody's productivity if they don't know how to operate with it or around it. You'll find somebody else who can, and then 10x their productivity, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, but I think about it like anything. If a new technology comes out, that's a tool, and that tool makes some part or makes you more productive. The PC is a tool sitting there, and all offices change from typewriters to PCs, or they change from fax machines to email. So if you don't know how to use email, or you don't know how to use the computer, then you're out of a job.
Right.
It's the same damn thing. So learn how to use AI. That's kind of what it is. Like, sorry.
Right. Jose said, or Josie, I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's okay. Boomers will revolt. I got to say, like, there's a weird mix of things. I think a lot of boomers, and again, technologically speaking, like Gen X is the most, I think, adaptable generation that we have, because we can do without it and we can use it. So we're kind of bridging these two worlds, but I got to say, my grandmother, we got her a smartphone. I have a bit in my act about it, and it's true story. And she adapted to using it right away. So
I was just going to say the same thing. Like, look at how many grandmas are walking around with iPhones, and they're just fine. They're texting.
Oh my God, my mom is on it. My mom is on it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the technology, though. The smartphone, like, Apple basically made a really good UI. They made a really good way to interface with the technology. And they also got really good at putting that technology in front of kids. That's where they got their start. They started putting computer labs in schools, and kids learned Apple instead of a PC. And then as they grew up, they're now Gen X. And then when grandma needs a phone, they're like, hey, use the same one I got, right?
Yes.
And that's how it works.
Right. But they also, like, built their own sort of secondary ecosystem in this, right? Like it wasn't, they're not doing the same thing that that the average, teenager is doing on their phones necessarily. Sometimes there's overlap, but a good portion of them are, there's a whole, like, grandma subculture on Facebook. And they're their own thing. They use it how they use it, and it's very different from how everybody else uses it. That's it, and I think that applies to a lot of things. So we have, and by the way, in the chat room, let us know, millennial, Gen X, are you a boomer? Have you tried these things? I mean, believe me, we get a lot of AI hate when we're talking about this on the show, and I understand it. But Rob and I are like it or not, shit is coming. And I would rather you guys be prepared for it, or at least understand why you wouldn't use it, as opposed to just kind of treating it like, okay, so Tom, I love you, but I'm going to tell a story about you. My buddy Tom, he in the 90s, he's the only person I had a conversation like this with, but he wasn't the only person who said this, was like, I'm not getting a cell phone. What the hell does anybody want a cell phone for? Why would I want people to be able to call me all the time? This is a terrible idea. Like, who's going to want to carry a phone everywhere? Like, it reminds me of that scene in Defending Your Life, where he was, getting an opportunity to invest in like Casio at the beginning, and he decided to buy cattle instead because the Japanese don't know anything about precision. And so what do they know about making calculators or that kind of stuff? And Boomer, who loves AI Bigfoot. Oh yeah, we'll take a look at that in a second. I don't know if people have seen this, but that's the way it's catching on. And if you haven't known, just look up Bigfoot vlog and you guys will know what we're talking about. I'll give you a little sample of it in a bit. But he was adamant about it. This wasn't just some sort of low-res Luddite thing, because we were all into musical gear and stuff. There was no problem with like updating whatever's coming. But the very concept of having a phone was just antithetical to life. And I think that's what the bridge of the Gen Xers was. There was a bunch of us who were like, I'm going to go play on my bike. I want to go do stuff. And there's still that split existing in the sort of the granola millennials who hike and that kind of stuff and who are experiential in how they want to do things versus the ones who are like, I need to buy a house and make this shit work. There's that split like there is in any generation, but it's just more profound. So, yeah, I don't want to interrupt too much with that thought, but I'm going to throw the chat in here just so we see. 52 Mom, you would be a Gen Xer. Just so you know. Boomers, yeah, there we go. Yes, I did say Bigfoot vlog, VLOG, video log. I'll show you that in just 1 minute for those that don't know.
Eric, I won't comment on that. Yeah, so it's not like it's going to just be embedded. So when we talk about it right now, it's sort of like part of Wall Street. It's part of these massive companies, and we think about it like it's an infrastructure, and that's actually maybe not that bad of a way to think about it. Because it's like it's going to just be embedded in everything. And so you're not technically going to be paying for AI specifically. You're going to be paying for whatever the service is or whatever the app or software is, whatever the use case is or the value add is. That's how you're going to pay for AI. And those things are going to change based on what its capabilities are.
Right. Let me, there was one chat. Let me see if it's in. Yes, Catherine right here. Yes, I hate all it. Hold on, it'll come up in a second. It'll reach this level. She goes, yes, I hate all this advanced tech, in all caps. The basic stuff is okay, but all this Terminator type shit is awful. It's a great way to look at it, Catherine. And I gotta say, yeah, that's the read. That is the opinion I see a bunch or some variation therein, because we have been so Skynetted about this stuff. And again, this is that example I was giving you, like why CEOs are using AI to scare workers. This is from a post earlier this week. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy offered his thoughts on generative AI. In paragraph 15, he gets to the scary bit. The transformation will likely, quote, reduce our total corporate workforce. And that's the part that I want. Like, this is the interesting thing. This is not about blue collar jobs going away. This is what I would say beige collar jobs or light blue collar jobs, which are, necessary to the corporate structure of something, but is drudgery that can be outsourced. Use AI to scare bosses instead. Well, that's happening too, Mud. We'll talk about that in a second as well.
I was just going to say that. The answer to that as a worker is to think about it from the standpoint of the corporation won't exist when I leave and basically make an AI version of what they do.
Yes.
Right? Use AI to effectively eliminate the need for the company. And that's what I was talking about with software as a service. I need these things for my company that would cost me if I bought them the way that normal people do, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And
Mm-hmm.
we can literally just get what we need. Like we don't need all the services. We just do what we need to do and do it ourselves.
Right.
And the story that I'm telling is what all companies can do and are doing, right? So
Yeah. So,
yeah,
go
so
ahead.
do you really need a stockbroker? Do you really need someone to tell you what stocks to
Right.
buy? Do you
Yeah.
like do you really need someone at a bank to talk to? Do you really
Yeah.
need a tax attorney if all you do is, or a tax CPA if all you do is just file a single tax return? No, like you can just turn that into
Right.
an app or a bot, and you'll get like basically there for simple stuff, right?
Georgina says, "Are humans going out of style?" No. Let me say, like,
No.
again, no. This is a tool, not a substitution. And the idea that even these things that when they reach what's called AGI or higher thinking or whatever, they're still not alive. They're still just large computation models. They are modeling consciousness. It's just you're convinced that there's something alive there because it's using effectively giant autofill. It's not that kind of thing. So where it does it best though is in the accumulation and the compilation and the interaction with humans of data. So you've got a bunch of data, you're trying to sort it all out, and it would be better if you had a professor or somebody from Harvard that knows about this topic. You could sit them down and go, okay, here's my questions. I'm trying to sort this out. And if I give you this, can you give me an answer to this thing? But you're never going to get access to that kind of a human being unless you have a giant corporation. You can pay for them. So that's what AI is giving everyone. Now, and again, it's a great equalizer. That's, again, education is going to be transformed by it. Technology and the ability to start a company or do stuff if you want to do something is going to be transformed by it. And until it, for me anyways, and I think partially for Rob as well, I don't want to speak for you, but until it hits the rubber meets the road phase, which is robotics, automation, material sciences, biology, which it's very swiftly moving towards. Until it hits that, it is effectively just like the introduction of the iPhone. Did it change things socially? Yeah, but can you hammer a nail with it? No. And
Well,
that's key.
this is where like the robot that we see today, you could have made that 20 years ago.
Yes.
So I watched a thing I think it was a Bloomberg thing with the CEO of Figure 3
Mm-hmm.
the other day, or is it Figure 1? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And and that robot that they're making, or the robot anybody's making, like without the software, you could have made that 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
What
Mechanically.
hasn't
Yep.
been able to happen? There's no reason for you to have it, right? And so when he talks, this CEO, I don't know his name off the top of my
Mm-hmm.
head, he talks about like what is it going to do? So what would you like? What's going to cause someone to want to spend $10,000 to have a thing in their house that does a task? And
Yeah.
so, you know, clean the house, fold your laundry, make your bed, clean your dishes. How much would you spend for essentially a live-in maid, or
Yeah.
uh, or someone to like let the dog out and
Yeah.
let them back in, that sort of thing, right?
Right.
And so it's the use case that's going to make it possible. And
Yes.
then essentially figuring out a way to get this physical thing with motors and batteries in it to actually go do that job without having that person have to do anything. And that's
Right.
kind of the magic of an iPhone. You literally turn it on and it just is kind of ready for you, and you don't have
Right.
to do much to get it to do what you need it to do.
Yeah.
So once robots get there, that's when everything changes. And that $20,000 figure robot is going to be $1,000 before you know it. Like,
Right. Yes. So a couple
before
of things. Yeah. Before they know it. Absolutely.
before they know it.
But we'll take a quick break to show you guys what the ape. Where did it go? Hold on a second. You go to this. What the Bigfoot vlog is, which is really just a gorilla, but
Right.
whatever. But this is what everybody's talking about. These are all AI made. They're made with VO3, which is the highest level of subscription to the Gemini system. Is it Google system or whatever? I think, anyways, people have been making these. Now, if you'll notice, all these clips are less than 5 or 10 seconds. And they're edited together, but that's why it makes it kind of perfect for a spoof of a vlog, because that's how many cuts are in a YouTube video. You can't make a film with it yet, but you can make these short, thank you so much for the super chat, Boston Brian, trying to get the $5 party started. What's up? He bought me a cup of coffee, and I need one this morning. Almost as much as this. Now, watch this. The way this is done, by the way, you take a voice track of the voice you want to make. You either make it with AI or you can do it yourself. And then you use a lip sync feature in VO. You take an image of this and you go, make a video using this audio from this picture of this ape. And he's filming his own vlog while he goes on an adventure. So let me give you a sample of this.
And it reeks of battery acid and depression.
Time to give it a try, bottoms up. That was spicy as fuck. I feel like 20,000 Pikachu just fucked me in the ass.
It's 4 in the fucking morning. I can't fucking sleep. The squirrels keep laughing at me. That drink is demon juice, for fuck's sake.
So they made this. So all these are really short clips, and so it takes a lot of work. Thank you, Michael. I like parties too. It takes a lot of annoying work to get to this point, but once you built the model, you can just have it crank out scene by scene what you want this guy to do, and then you just make these things, and then you edit them together yourself. Okay, and so this is a situation where this dude, Bigfoot Adventures, and it's only got 10,000 subscribers, which shocks me because these videos are every fucking where. Although it may not be the original channel, that might be part of it too. Might, who knows? But
Found this drink, boys. This shit tastes fucking gas. Yeti, bud.
So,
bro, he's
them driving.
Kids. This is Gerald. Found him lost in the woods, and now I can't imagine life without him. We're like two peas in a pod. So Gerald had to, but he lived his best life. Today we're making herb-crusted lamb chops.
Right. So, all right. So they made these things. They're very funny. But let me tell you something. For somebody 10 years ago to do a video like this, either getting in an ape suit and spoofing these things, which would be half-assed or whatever, would be impossible. Or you'd need a studio. The graphic level of this would have to be all over the place, right? How Manus will do it for you now, it's insane. Yes, I know. I'll show you Minimax. We'll finish out the hour with it. Yeah. Go ahead.
I call these very, very advanced Snapchat filters. That's essentially what they are.
Right, but
and we
there's
shouldn't
no
think
person
about
in
them
this
as
one.
more than that.
Right, but there's no person in them.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying, though. A Snapchat filter allows you to be in control, and then it effectively draws over the top of you.
Yeah.
So it's an avatar, right? It's not you. And
Yeah.
so this is basically the same thing. It's a way to control.
It adapts to what you want it to. It's triggered by your facial movements and the like, or even whether they're yours or a history of them because it's trained on the model.
Or not even that. It could be another video. It could be anything you use to drive it. That's all.
right.
That's what it is.
And
there are currently fake Instagram type influencers that are all 100% AI driven. This has been happening in China for many years, but it's definitely happening on Instagram now. There's all kinds of 100% AI driven people, and they fake people out. People comment on them and everything.
Right.
Yeah. So this is it's effectively like a new type of video creation that is more akin to a Snapchat filter than it is to maybe a video camera.
Agreed. And I would say for me, the Snapchat filter thing has been so useful as a thing that I would have had to have a makeup team to do, and I couldn't afford it for my show. So it allows me to do stuff, creatively that was just out of the fucking question, right? And the same thing was, with the Bigfoot thing. Those guys are just making that. They just signed up for VO3 or they're using, Minimax or one of these other sites, and they're building these things. There's even a video I think I saw a little bit ago, how to make those yourself, because it's open source. It's available to just about anybody. Sometimes it takes you longer because of how many tokens it takes, but anybody who had a 14.4 baud modem back in the day knows exactly what it's like to wait for your technology to catch up with the DoD's technology in terms of what the internet can do versus that. Also, I'd like to say, thanks, Hobie Ranger. I love your dog Loki too. Treva says, that's very sweet. Treva says, I'm old enough to be a great grandma, but thanks to my mother, I was introduced to a PC in the 70s. My mom came home with a Heath kit, which is that's amazing. Like the original computer board was the original, one of the early kind of Raspberry Pi-ish things you could mess around with. In the same way that my neighbor came home, his dad, he had an Apple 2 or whatever that he came home. Yeah. But we had before that, he would have component stuff. My next door neighbor ended up being a computer programmer, and Kurt, and he used to take apart the vacuum cleaner and the remote just to see what was inside of it. He was one of those guys, and the Heath kit was sort of perfect for him. That's amazing. So the other thing I wanted to show, and this is sort of the advance of it as well. So you're talking about how the mechanics of these robots have been around for a long time, but the software and being able to interact with them, which is the key, is what's new in this AI as a UI, user interface. I think AI is just an update of the mouse and keyboard, quite frankly, because you're talking to it as opposed to using pointers and stuff. That's all. And in relation to, let's see, next by Luke, I want to show you guys something. You may not know this, but there's a point where, if you recall this is from one of my, I have these Star Wars cards, and I think a lot of people do as well. Remember this part when they were over there and his arm had broken off and Luke was fixing it, and they gave him an oil bath back at the thing, but this was the period. This proves, beyond a shadow of doubt, that the future of robots is open source. Or at least it was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But the idea is that you can fix it yourself. Unlike your iPhone, you're allowed to tweak your robot. That's why they come in different colors. You can even, at Disneyland, if you want to make your own little R2-D2, they have R5-D4s. They've got all these different ones, and you can make your own version of this. But this, when I was a kid, I remember being fascinated by the idea that your robot broke his arm, but you just slap the thing back on. He's totally fine. It doesn't hurt. And you just fixed it for him. So proof that the guys who in that other area are right on the money. Now, you mentioned Figure.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this, and they're embedded in BMW right now, right?
Yes, exactly. So, in Spartanburg, Georgia, Tennessee, whatever. There's two of them, so I don't know which one it is. I think it's Tennessee. But they've been working in this BMW factory for a bit, these Figure 1 robots. There they are.
South Carolina.
Is it? Oh, there's three of them then. So we've seen it do this job before, and it's just getting better at it. And this has always been an issue that you had to do it with a person because no matter what you do, they won't fit, into that little space. So you got a human being always has to tap the thing down. If it's not perfect, it's got to settle into this thing, and you can't shake the thing because it'll misalign the stamp. Like you could have it be there, like machine puts it on there and then it goes like this, and then they both fall in. But if it's not, you'll ruin parts because it's a press. But getting your fingers caught in this thing could suck. And
and the alternative to this would be like one of those big, multi-axis arms that are like bolted down to the ground. And what is really hard in these factories is for every single task, you need to like mount one of these big robots. And it needs to be able to reach it and access it. Whereas a humanoid style robot is much more versatile. It can kind of move, and you don't need to like have these big setups and program it as much.
This is this drives me fucking crazy. But this is the image.
Here. These are the
these are the big ones you're talking about, and they're amazing. But this is the image I want everybody to have in their head when Trump talks about bringing manufacturing back to the United States and all these jobs. We lost our jobs because we're not getting jobs back. We aren't. We might be taking them away from living people in another country, but when they come back here, they're not going to be done by humans. They're not going to be done by people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to afford it. You just won't. Like the only thing that will keep prices down on these goods is automation. The only thing, because we've effectively used people overseas in areas where the cost of living is so low compared to here that you can outsource that labor to them. And effectively they become the robots that put it all together, because what they make there, even though it's low by our standards, matches the environment that they're in, so it's actually better for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't trade their labor for the pay in the first place. They'd go, fuck you, it's too much, right? But this is what Trump is talking about. These are fucking vending machines. There's like a dozen people working here, but people seem to Trump seems to think it's like, I think he only knows anything about car manufacturing from the trailer for Gung Ho. Right? Look at that thing, though.
And so,
look at that shit.
Well, the near future of that, if Tesla Figure One have their way, will be none of those arms will be there except maybe for the really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And then it'll be basically a bunch of humanoid robots along that line.
Yeah.
If even in a line, it might not even make sense that it should be a line, right?
Because they're easier to time and replace. They're more disposable. You can repurpose them. You can change the design a lot quicker and on multiple pieces. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of like why things are the way they are have to do with the fact that in order to make money, you need to mass produce. You need to have volume, and a lot of the new technology coming along is actually the opposite of that. You want to be able to have a higher mix, like more differences, more customization, right?
Right.
So you can't actually achieve that as easily with the robotics and the automation like you're seeing in this video.
Mm-hmm.
But when you switch to a humanoid style where they're not bolted to the ground and they're much more like adaptable, that's when you can lower your total volumes and just make more of different things.
Right. Well, and also to your point, this you can also shift away from, like, cars are one thing. Cars, you're using these giant levered things to create them, but a toy factory would not need those giant arms. Right? It doesn't work that way. As a matter of fact, that's the one thing that's probably stopping us from automating a lot of the sort of junk consumer purchase kind of stuff that we have, or even things on the level of like pots and pans. Like pots and pans are made in, stamp factories all, in China. But to put the handle on it requires a human hand or something equivalent to it because of the size of the thing. And you're not going to program one of these giant fucking, Tony Stark arms to build stuff like that, right? And so all consumer goods, that's been the missing component, right?
That's also a volume problem as well, because pots and pans are they're stylistic, like they change like fashion, like clothing, right?
Yes.
You're not using this. I mean, a lot of people are using. If you go to the store, there's all kinds of different choices. That's my point. With cars, there's a lot less choices, and the volumes are higher, right? So. Yeah, I mean, in toys, it's a lot of like handwork, like maybe painting or cleaning up plastic parts or assembling small pieces together. And there's only so much volume. If you set up a robot to do that, it can only do that. And then what happens to the other 50, 100 toys that you got to make for that season?
Right.
You got to do it for everyone. So, I was looking at, I just did this as an exercise. So an EV car has 20 moving parts, whereas an ICE or an internal combustion engine car has about 2,000. Right. So what is happening, China's doing this, is they're basically making the motion control, like the wheels and the suspension and stuff. And then all the rest of it is fashion. All the rest of it is like like your clothes, like a lot of different versions of a lot of different things. And it's more like a cell phone that comes out every year than it is a car model that is, 10 or 5 or 7 years long.
Right.
And when you change to the next model, it's like still like almost basically the same thing, right? So cars are going to turn into cell phones, basically. And these robots are going to do the same exact thing because they're also made up of the same components, just motors and things connecting the motors effectively.
Right. And so part of what, let me see if I can stretch this out or shrink it down so it can be Command plus. Why would this not do it? Okay. The concept of, and this is the kind of an important thing with the chat room, and I think this is the part where they can play a part in it. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat room as we discuss this. With this, the post-labor economics factor of AI, which is that we hear a lot about AI is going to take your job. Well, it's not going to just take it; it's going to do it if it needs to be done at all. And once it's done, everybody who relied on the job you used to do, and paid you to do it or paid somebody like you to do it is now free.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happens, why would they pay for it ever? So even if it's not done here, look at the people who used to have assistants and then they outsourced them. Tons of people on YouTube use like these Indian assistants, all the entrepreneur types that sell real estate or how to make it big in anything. All of them have an assistant in India that speaks English that does all their kind of appointments and calendar and all that kind of stuff. They would have a person here in the United States, but it's too expensive, so they outsource it. Right? Similar kind of thing is going to happen. It's going to get done. The job is going to get done. It's just not going to be done by a person anymore. And even when you move that job to India, somebody still had to get paid. You had to supply them with something. Because they got to feed themselves and house themselves and all that kind of stuff. AI does not have to do that. That's what's going to happen. That's the part. That's where they can talk about post-labor economics. When nobody works, what does the economy look like? What do people do with their time?
Well, I've started to see tech people, on YouTube and stuff that are like commentators that are, like all over the spectrum that normally wouldn't, maybe on the right, start to say, well, I think we're probably going to need UBI at some point here. Because the thing that they're developing is essentially eliminating the need for the thing, right?
Right.
It
is a bullet train. It's one thing there were a lot of people put out of a job by industrialization, like blacksmiths. Nobody gives a duck fuck about blacksmiths except people who go to Ren fairs and people like my dad who need a new hammer for their flintlock, and they have a friend who actually does it. And by the way, I would argue they're coming back. That flintlocks, because as things get mass produced, the idea of having something made by human hands does have a specialness to it, and you could argue that that's exactly what's gonna happen because of this. But nobody gave a shit about how many blacksmiths got put out of business by factories in the early 1900s. They were just like, phew, we don't have to have a blacksmith burning down half the city, or half the town every 3 years. Right? Or the village, because we never rebuilt from the last time the motherfucker burned it down, right? Nobody cared about that. I talk about the forklift being a thing. Like, nobody cares about those big muscly dudes who used to have to carry shit around on a pallet, all four of them. Those guys are out of a job unless all four of them learn to drive a forklift, right? And nobody cared. And there was a transitional time. It wasn't fast. Like cars even showing up in the United States. You can't imagine the lack of cars, or gas stations. And I brought this up, like why we need to subsidize renewables is because we subsidized oil. Because if you look back at the 50s, what was the number one plot point for somebody to start a horror movie? We ran out of gas. Well, why? Because there weren't gas stations like there are now. They were sparse. There were lots of signs that said last gas for 50 miles. And that was the range of your fucking car. So you're like, if you don't gas up, you will not make it. Hey, Hal, rent fairs are awesome. I completely agree. I'm saying from a charming factor. I'm not downplaying the value of a rent fair. Don't get me wrong. They'll be more and more important as time goes on. Because I have a feeling that as AI takes over shit, people are going to be bored and want to do some freaky shit. And and it's all going to be immersive and old school, and it'll involve putting your phone in a bag.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
okay.
It's like it's coming, and maybe like a lot of the volatility happening right now is a good wake up call. It like makes us prepared to be more eyes
Yes.
wide open to what these things are going to come, because nobody really knows.
Right.
But as we talk, like you see the direction. You talk about, in politics, like the trains left the station.
Yep.
We've been talking about this as long as we've been on the show, right?
Yep.
Like gravity still exists. What goes up will come down, right? So we can see which way gravity's pulling this thing, um, and so like I've been trying to think about like what are some of the sort of knowns that like we might want to talk about needing to let
Right.
go of, right?
Right.
And one of the big ones that I see, and I don't know exactly how to articulate this properly yet, but I think our idea of privacy, it must change.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because in my working with AI tools in my own job, one of the things that I see the most value of
Mm-hmm.
is it knowing all the things that we previously talked about.
Yes.
Like every and this happened. I mentioned it maybe 2 months ago on the show that the one that I use the most, ChatGPT, it never could see the rest of your chats while it was in the chat
Right.
you were in, but it's been able to for a long time now. So I can like reference sort of tangentially or just very broadly. Do you remember when we talked about this thing? Like remind me of what that was and add it
Right.
to this thing I'm doing now. And I don't necessarily need to like recall the specifics of that in order to get back to having the specifics, right? So
Right.
it would not know a lot of things if it wasn't seeing our entire history of chat, right? So
Right.
I'm starting to like think about the idea that the power of AI, we talked about small language models. Like
Mm-hmm.
to me, the most powerful version of it is my own companion, my own uh, LLM that literally has heard everything that I've heard and
Right.
knows
Right.
every
Right.
conversation I've had with it and maybe with somebody else.
Yeah.
That is probably the most useful version of it on an individual level. So, in order for that, if that's true, to be a thing, then privacy needs to change. Like, you need to think about privacy in a different way, is my
Right.
point.
Well, and what you really have to think about is judgment. Because why do you
Sure,
need
maybe.
privacy? Why do you need privacy? It's because you will be judged for what you do or who you are if people find that out, basically. Or there's a lack of safety. On a social level is mainly what I'm talking about in terms of the privacy. I think you're kind of closer to
Yeah,
that as well. Neither one of us has classified information that we have to worry about, which is a totally different thing. But in
yeah,
terms of
exactly. Yeah.
human privacy, your medical situation, whatever, the road is closer to like honesty and understanding about illness, mental illness, variance in lifestyle and our concepts of sexual deviance versus normalcy, that kind of stuff. That's going to have to kind of go away, and it has been over time. You could argue that that's kind of what's been happening. We have been in a slow rolling evolution, and
Totally.
people are trying to put that toothpaste back in the tube. If that's your idea of a good time, it's better than a sharp poke in the eye. But unless I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. But the idea that we are in that back and forth between
Yeah.
what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, right?
Well, also like when when
Great
Facebook
question, great question,
kind of
Jerry. I'll get to it in one
oh,
second. Yeah, go ahead.
so when Facebook hit the scene, what did we kind of talk about? Like, why are you telling everybody where you are? Why are you taking a picture of everything that you eat? You're telling everybody where you are. Like that's a privacy issue actually. That's
Right,
a you know, and so that there's always been that push and pull, and with everybody with their phone videoing themselves all the time, or like Instagram people, or Facebook stuff, or and TikTok, like the push and pull there is between the people maybe that are public with with themselves in general, and the
yes,
people that are more private with themselves, and
right.
the sort of
Well, and whether
tension
they
between
can
those
be
things.
public or can't be public, and again, this goes to the Lindsey Grahams of the world, to the Bruce
Yeah,
Valanches of the world, or that's what I mean. So,
yeah.
right.
What was the question that you saw?
Oh, the question was, will AI ever not need electricity? And here's what I will say. It will need a lot less than they're saying. Like, I don't know why this draw about like, oh my God, it's going to require so much to get it done, when the advances in it, I mean, it needs it right now is what they mean. Like right now, for them to get ahead and for us to stay ahead of the Chinese for the next 2 years, you need a shit ton of power. But over time, like everything else, it's going to lower its output. Apple right now is talking about, the major move is to your device. So it will use the power of the battery on your phone. It's not going to need a small nuclear reactor to be a well-designed LLM and reference to you. And it's kind of like the value of solar power. So when you run on gas or nuclear power or hydropower from a dam, you have to spread it out to everyone's house. And everybody gets the same 100 units of energy, whether they sort of use it or not, in terms of, they'll take more if they need more, they'll use less if they use less, but it's sending electricity down these wires at the same level, right? There might be a governor on it here and there with your, depending on commercial versus residential needs, but that's how it works. When you have a solar panel on your house, you draw less from that ever-flowing stream from whatever the city's power or the state's power or whatever you're getting. And your power comes from you. So when they make these big predictions about, oh my God, the city's growing and therefore our energy needs will be thus, if they made them in the 70s and 80s, they're gonna go up by that 100 units per household concept. And where's the output gonna come from? Holy shit, right? We need another dam, or we need another reactor, or whatever. But if every house has solar panels, it literally, the energy draw for the whole city is shrinking as it happens. Yes, there may still be need for this bigger thing, and solar won't do all of it, but it takes the weight off that system. The same thing is true of AI and its power draw. If it's all done in these big dumb grok facilities, then yeah, it's going to require two micronuclear reactors like, nuke subs parked next to it forever as it grows exponentially. But if the LLMs, as they're trained, get smaller and smaller and smaller and end up on a chip, and each chip has its own training attached to it that it doesn't have to reference out for, that its power draw is the same as the power draw it was when it was just a camera, then you're not going to run into that problem. And this whole race to oh my God, it's going to use 90% of the energy in the country, it's just fucking dumb. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, every technology gets more efficient over time. I mean, look at cars.
Yes.
Cars are good.
Right.
Example.
Look at your
They use a
laptop.
lot
Look at
less
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to call out Greg Gills. He said Facebook is the Blue Thunder helicopter. Just want to give props to that. I
That's
love
pretty
Blue Thunder.
sweet. I do too.
That's
Yeah.
probably one of the best movies of my childhood.
I love it, absolutely, and still very relevant. People need to go back and watch that.
Absolutely.
We need more, we need more Jaffos out there.
Yeah. It's the Blue Thunder is the surveillance state, right?
Mhm.
So you've got the surveillance state, which so much I'll keep going. The surveillance state is the main, the big government or whatever watching the people, but the people are watching the people as well, right?
Right.
Like all the stuff you see on the news is typically someone else with their phone, a camera on the police or the suspect, or and they're filming. So the police say it, or that's us. We're doing it, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
which is, so when you see I guess big government and the video, everybody's all up in arms, oh my God, they're watching us. But when they see people doing it, they're like, those are citizens keeping the cops in line.
Big brother,
right?
big brother ain't got shit on little brother. Little brother is a lot more intrusive, because the big brother at least has some rules and some oversight, and you could actually sue, or you could do something about it. Little brother doesn't give a shit. He's just standing there with his phone while you're eating at a restaurant, filming everything you do, and there's nothing you can do about it right now. We talk a lot about the rules that exist versus the rules that don't, and we can use a lot of rules that already, and laws that already apply, right? And there are almost none when it comes to a stranger just filming you, right?
Yeah,
and maybe there shouldn't be, but that's true.
Yeah, as a concept, privacy, it's seen in two different directions when you look at it from those two examples, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I'm getting at is like we're constantly like jumping back and forth between two like polar concepts of the same thing, like
Right.
polar approaches to the same concept. And I think that's the struggle that we're in on so many things, right? Like, in politics and like these binary things are sort of, we sort of speak in these binary terms, but then all the situations that come at it aren't binary. And so
Hmm.
they like screw everybody up. This is why you get Tucker Carlson across from
Yes,
Ted Cruz, and they're like all wrapped up inside of each other, like
that's right.
they don't know what to do, right? Like,
Well, because
but it's
yeah,
well,
yeah,
anyway. I think privacy and then property rights, like with our data is like a property right thing, and the rest is privacy. Like these are things that have to change, just like they changed when we went from being serfs to kings to having organized government societies
right.
that weren't Go ahead. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I mean, all great points, but there are usually three pillars of economic stability in a world for every individual. One is labor, what you bring to the workforce,
Mhm.
and the other is your property, your private property, anything you own that gives you dividends or grows over time. You could take a loan out on your house if it grows in property value. That's another one, and the other one is sort of the any support you get from the outside, meaning the government. That would be UBI or Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid, those kind of things, right? Those are your three pillars of economic stability and freedom that exist in most people's lives to varying degrees over the course of your life. You may shift in one over time from labor to the government support that you get because you get Social Security and you're retired, right? Or you live off your dividends and that's higher than Social Security and you pass that on to your kids and allow them to go to college. That's what you use that money for, but you don't do labor anymore. Or you labor all the time, you've never retired, and it's so strong it overwhelms any dividends because you're like myself, you're a performance-based human being. Like I show up for my shit and I'm unique in that regard. I can't outsource me as a business in that regard. It's just impossible. So what happens when labor is all but gone, right? As that,
Yeah.
you've only
So
got two things. You've got investment or whatever you would put in, right? And then you have a UBI or some sort of a payment stipend from the government that you make up. The other one is that there's a sub economy of interpersonal stuff that everybody does that's not off the grid, but it is different from all that other work. That your value comes differently as a human being, and our exchange rate as humans becomes less material labor and more about interaction.
right. I mean, at some point, you've talked in the past a lot about uh, the cost of living in terms of through the Reagan era when we went over to Asia and started getting goods. Cost of
Right.
living went down because goods that we wanted got cheaper, right? So
Yes.
and there was a trade-off for that. The trade-off was they made it and our industry went down. But those goods, like when jobs go away, effectively those goods become free as well, right?
Hmm.
Like there, so there's like inputs into them, and then they become a thing, and then now we get the good. Well, if we don't have any money to buy it, it's because we didn't have a job, and that job is what made the good, if you will. And I'm talking physical goods at the moment. So if you don't have
Right.
the job and but you do have the good, there's no money exchanged, right? So
Yes.
so it's got
Right.
to become free. And in terms of the robot that made it, the power that's generated, like again, like if there's no movement of money, then there's no thing, or the thing is there and it's free.
Yes.
And like those things have to be dealt with because our society runs on money, and somehow that's got to either modify, it's got to change, it's got to be something different. Like, um, yeah. So a lot. So the U.S. I think is actually really well poised for this because we're effectively service based,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
because we don't make the goods, like we're kind of maybe already there. Like we're exchanging, what you called it a pretty rock. Like the pretty rock became a digital number on your cell phone. So we're
Right?
trading a digital thing on a cell phone for a service, essentially, which isn't a good. It's mowing the lawn or,
Yes.
cleaning the car or like, what those types of things.
Yeah. And if I may, the uh, the what you're basically saying is that China's fucked, and so is any country that is resource based, like an oil or simply a I don't know a utility based economy where they're responsible for how the materials where those utilities come. Like China, to some degree, everybody talks about the rare earth minerals and all that kind of stuff, but the material sciences have been running so fast in the other direction that everybody's like, okay, AI, hey, what's a good substitute we can use for, in batteries that would replace this thing that's hard to find? Well, here, use this. It's a shit ton of stuff. Like that happened so fast in so many areas. Did that freeze you? Are you frozen? Did you freeze? Hold on. I think we froze Rob. We might have frozen Rob. We've got a frozen Rob. He's frozen, and we'll see if he comes back in a moment. I'm talking to. Am I just talking to myself? Is that what happened? You guys are there. Yes? Okay, good. The chat's still moving, so let me check in on that. Yeah. I'm going to see. Maybe he got a call in the middle of it. Yeah, he hung up. He's going to call back. Okay, good. I was about to click him off. Thank you. Thank you, Stargal. I feel like I am just talking to myself sometimes. There he is. He's back. Yay. All right, and we'll solo him up. And then, whoops, sorry. Go back to here. There we go. Hey,
I was frozen for a little bit, and
you were. I thought I had your undivided attention. I was totally lost. I was like, wow,
you always do, Al.
Rob is paying attention to what I'm saying. Finally, I'm not.
Usually, it's only half.
Damn it. Yeah, absolutely. So the bunch of people like obviously have their part in this. I want to show one story that came up that kind of I guess attaches to some of people's attitudes about this. I don't know if you saw this one. Man with real life girlfriend and child proposes to AI chatbot after programming it to flirt. I think this is actual love.
I mean, so the person programmed it, and then this person knows enough to do it, right? So
yeah,
they know enough to know what it is.
Right. This is a guy who wraps his own birthday presents and is surprised when he opens them, I think.
Yeah, these stories, like, I feel like they're like made up by AI. Like,
yes,
right?
I agree. Yeah. I want to see if I can. Well, I'll show you something real quick while we're at it. Now, you and I have talked to Pi. We haven't talked to her in a bit, but there is a yeah. Hold on. I may be able to have us talk to this one, but let's see. Okay, get out of here. There is a very strange thing on Minimax, which is one of the big AI companies or AI things. I don't want to go to the hold on Minimax .io. Who's this? Yeah,
I don't even know what
so I know.
Minimax is.
Okay, Minimax is one of the big models that's out there, and it's it looks very similar to some stuff, but because I don't want to go to there we go, the official website for that.
Did I see? Is Minimax the one that was like trying to compete with DeepSeek directly or something?
No, it's a Chinese one. It's another Chinese based one, but the chat talkie is the thing that they have. Okay, so let me show you this one. All right, I'll load in this. No. So I'm a he, him, and I'm this way, and then enter talkie now. So this is close to what that dude was kind of talking about, and it's a little, quite frankly, it's a little pitiful. But it is partly, it's getting a lot of news lately because these people are chatting. You can chat with all these different personalities, whether they're real or cartoons. Here's Stephanie.
Right.
And this is Mandy Thomas. You can talk to Mandy Thomas. She lives with her father, who's a road contractor, and he has been, okay, these are all AI people. And then there are live talks that are kind of always ongoing that people may, you can talk to Megan, you can talk to Chucky, you can talk to Squidward, you can talk to Johnny Bravo. And they're based on the Huggy Wuggy and Capitano. And then there's celebrity ones, which they get into trouble about, but I think because it's run out of China, they just go, yeah, we don't give a shit. But when you click on one of these things, I just want to show people what this is. Okay, go away. It's an ad. Get it. Excellent. Got it. And it should, let's see. I don't know if I'm hearing it. Hold on. Maybe I have to sign in for it on this one. Anyways, it's really weird because they start going, hi, I'm Mandy. What are you doing today? Would you like to make plans? And all of them immediately go to this. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me how I know, chat room. None of your goddamn business. But all of them go to this, like immediately to like, let's be friends and I'll go with you everywhere. And you and I should take a trip together. It's really weirdly pathetic. And it's such, like, it's so on the nose. It's so bizarre. And it's exactly teed up to like that kind of circumstance with that guy. And yeah, so I'm gonna
you can. They have these on Instagram as well. Like, sometimes you'll scroll through Instagram and there's like personalities, and they have AI generated pictures of who the person, quote unquote, looks like. They're just like avatars for chatbots, essentially.
Right.
But
this
in this
this
world,
is
so
Mary.
there's two things happen.
I'm really concerned that this lady will just Karen me. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like we've already created movies and books about people who fall in love with their AI, and
yes,
like
whether her,
like we're making fun of it, or like that's like someone who's lonely, or whatever that is, right? And then there's the idea that, or there is the fact that we're in a loneliness epidemic, right? Like,
yes,
people
right.
just want to talk to people, and so my point is that they're gonna do something, right? If you're doom scrolling through,
if you say so, right.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like they go do something, right? So if you're lonely and you start watching a bunch of Al Qaeda stuff and go blow up a building, that's something. Or if you talk to a chatbot, a girl, and you fall in love with her, that's something else that doesn't blow up a building, right?
Right. Oh, believe me, I think pacification of idiots is great. I mean, they talk about this being the new religion, and you could argue that religion's what kept a lot of people from acting on their baser instincts for a very long time. And as that passes away, people don't seem to care. But video games and AI girlfriends will take the kind of worst of society and make them need a nap, essentially, because somebody was like, let's go jerk off in Paris, was one in the chat. Herbert said that in the chat. I was like, that's exactly what it's presenting as an option.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I mean, the thing that's being made possible is like the ultimate choose your own adventure movie thing.
Yes.
Like you don't even need to watch a pre-made movie anymore. Well, you won't, in some time. You could literally like have it generated
your experience
on the fly based
right.
on what you're looking for entertainment, right? Or it could even, like, as I said, like knowing your history.
Yeah.
It could present you with something that actually like weaved in with your history, right? And made sense to you. It's as personalized an experience as can be, because it's on a one-to-one thing, right? So
yes.
one of the things that I think is sort of missing, and so it's easy to sort of be like, oh, they're just these lonely people who are,
pathetic,
don't have any friends, and pathetic, and
sad, habitual masturbators. Who feels seen in the chat room right now? Sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, like, so there are sub-communities where people that we make fun of and sort of generalize like that, they go, like there's people at furry conventions, and there's people at playing D&D
I have heard
conventions.
that.
And, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, like, there's all these subcultures.
Right.
and these people exist, and it's the when I talk about privacy, it's like maybe like some of the wars, going on right now, or some of the ICE stuff is because Stephen Miller is really a furry, right? Like, and he just can't admit it, right? Because
Right. He's afraid to, like,
so
and he only sleeps with like undocumented people, so they all got to be kicked out.
exactly. That's
Right.
there you go. Perfect. Like he only likes to, sleep with undocumented males, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm being funny about it, but a lot of like things happen because people are ashamed of themselves or they're
Yes.
lonely. So now if your chatbot, one of the things I see when I communicate with the chatbots that I do is they use like the language, their language is elevated. Like it's like we're having a conversation and it's not a stupid conversation. It's like I'm speaking to a college educated person, right?
Right.
And so accents happen in society, so does vocabulary.
Yeah.
And a lot of like our TV and our media and stuff, it's like devolving into this, lower vocabulary, lower education level vocabulary. Like I think it's very possible that like communicating with AI could lift that back up, right?
Right.
Because it's still speaking to you. You're speaking to it like this entity that, doesn't exist, sort of, kind of.
Right.
So all I'm doing is I'm trying to like look at these situations, and I think that so many of these stories you see are like they're playing off of stereotypes that we've always had.
Yeah.
And so whenever I see them, I'm like, what's the opposite of that? What is the opposite result? What could the opposite result be of that situation? And I think they're as likely today as all these stories about Terminator coming and getting
Yeah.
us, right? I think of that as just a way to think about this if you're scared of AI. And
Right.
and and you can make it happen. That's the most amazing part. Like us acting on this thing right now is going to be what makes it what it becomes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's why we're here every Friday or almost every Friday trying to talk about it.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of people, it's one of those things. By the way, share the show, like it. By the way, and we've got folks on Substack. I feel like this is a very Substack conversation, quite frankly. Amongst, I really
Sorry,
do.
I'm kind of going off the
I mean,
reservation a little bit.
Genuinely so, because this is something that's going to affect us long term, and it can be a lot of it can be difficult to like understand how this is going to be upon us as quickly as it is, and it already is. Let me be abundantly clear. There was a startup I looked at 2 days ago out of San Francisco that is a anti-aging one or whatever. They're like many of these bio startups. So I was looking into the bio startup and kind of seeing how AI is working with them. There are a ton of them popping up like crazy because they don't need the team anymore that they would have needed just to get off the ground. Right? That is the, and it's going to change, just like CRISPR-Cas9 mixed with AI is going to, has a potential for very detrimental things happening or very good things happening, who could say, because the average person or the slightly above average person, which is the big, what we should be afraid of, gets their hands on this thing and decides that they're going to, hold on, is this playing? Does this actually have a, I don't even know if this is, yeah, hold on.
You started to jump around a little on my feed.
Sorry.
Today,
It's playing in the background.
Let me show you. I'm going to show you something real quick. See this guy? While we were talking, when you dropped out, I sought to replace you. I just made this video real quick. Watch this.
His hair is better.
today is the day.
I was like, this is a video of a guy asking his computer to the prom. And I was like, today is the day. So he's getting ready.
Today is the day.
Right. So those 8 videos you saw, this is the cheap version. This is VO3, but I'm just using it through Leonardo. So I can only do like 5 seconds or something. These guys could do 20 seconds, I think. And that's enough to tap these things, right? I just did that. That took, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Right.
Today
So I mentioned
is the
sorry.
day.
Right. No. It's just, I just want people to be like clear, like how quick that happened.
Yeah, I mentioned a few months ago that I saw that the game Doom, like one of the
Yes.
first person shooters that was on like much older computers, they were running Doom real time on a AI
Yes.
on Gen AI. So it was completely produced from scratch by the Gen AI, and they were playing it. Now that's like it's like going back to arcade games in the 80s, right? Like, and so you could play an arcade game, and we'd had a fraction of the computing power in those boxes, and it was like a great thing that people went out and did, and it was social, and people love those games still today. Pac-Man and Defender and Centipede and all them, right? So like you don't need this crazy high-end computer to play a game.
Yeah.
You can do it with poker. You can play poker with cards. You don't need anything, right?
Right.
So even if you're showing like a very good high-end looking video, like it's good enough. You can do enough now with the existing thing in like
Yes.
8-bit, like an 80s video game. You can do it now, right?
Yes.
So it's only a matter of just the technology getting faster and more efficient to get you
I
to
am,
that
Tony.
thing. But
Yeah.
still, it's the game we're playing. We're playing a game. Like
Yes.
let's go back. Let's go back to what we're actually doing here.
Well, it's all about commitment. Again, I have many people know one of the signs that you make it in the nerdy Gen Xer world is have an upright video game. So years ago,
Okay.
I found a Sinistar because that was
Yeah.
my jam, and it was the first. For those that don't know, it's okay, all right. Actually, it was the first video game that used synthesized voice in it. An actual recording of a voice saying something that it would play and synthesize it and use as a recording in it, as opposed to just
Okay.
like the dragon in Atari's Dungeons and Dragons that looks like a duck that goes, but it would literally go, "I'm coming," which I thought was, when I was 15,
They're
I
like,
died. I was laughing my ass off. And so, "I'm coming." Huh?
I imagine
Right.
you and Johnny standing there
Brutal.
laughing about that.
Brutal. So, anyways, that upright video game, as much as you could recreate the graphics of it today, it's still
Mhm.
it matters about like whether you're engaged, whether it
Right.
matters to you.
Exactly.
And that's the only thing that is relevant in any of this. If it matters to you that music makes you laugh and sing and dance or whatever, you kind of won't give a shit where it came from. And this is for all the people like, "I hate AI music." That's fine, but don't tell me you still listen to R. Kelly and you could put people's private lives out of your mind while you're dancing, or Michael Jackson for that fucking matter. Like I would rather dance or rock out to a fake song than someone that was made by a predator, right? So that said, in all these circumstances, if you're like, I hate that thing, you will be committed to that feeling, and therefore it will never do you any good, and whatever, you'll shun it, and whatever good it could do for you, you're the anti-vaxxer of technology, because that's what anti-vaxxers are. That's that feeling. Now, I'm not saying people have to incorporate this into their lives, but you have incorporated it into your life if you actively hate it, or hate on it, or avoid it, or whatever, right? You know what I mean? And there's a great monk parable. I'm a big fan of monk parables. There's a monk parable about these two monks who are, they've taken a vow of chastity and all this stuff, and they come to a riverbank, and the river is raging, but they're about to cross it because they know they can go across it. And there's a woman standing there, and she's afraid to cross it. And the man, one of them, offers her a ride on his back, and he picks her up on his back, and they cross the river, and he puts her down, and they keep walking. And the other monk is like, for miles, he's like, just like tweaking, and the guy is like, "What is your problem?" And he goes, "How could you do that? We have taken a vow of chastity, and you pick up that strange woman, and you're holding her thighs with your hands, and her groin is pressed up against your lower back. Her breasts are resting on your shoulders, and her hair is draping around. And he goes, how could you do that? He goes, you tell me. I dropped her at the riverbank. You've been carrying her ever since. And that is it's such a great thing for people like who spend their time hating on something and saying that they're rejecting it. You're not. You're carrying it around. And sometimes it's necessary if you're protesting something. But sometimes it's just aimless, right? It's funny that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So many places to go.
Have you? Yeah, a lot of people are bringing up Galaga. Galaga's
Oh, sure.
classic. Yeah. Somebody said Spy
Hold on.
Hunter.
Today
Okay, is it so it's making
is the
it right
day.
now? Are these like different versions, or is it
Yeah.
making?
I had him ask.
Okay.
I had him ask out his retro game console, and he's like,
Oh.
"Today's the day."
Today is the day.
Is he gonna
And-
like continue and actually ask the question?
No, because I only got it's 8 seconds long. I only have it like 8 seconds.
Oh.
So yeah. And the next one will be a nerd filming a vlog about it, telling his game console. I'll go telling his game console that he loves it. That he loves it more than his mom. Okay, whatever. I'll do that kind of thing. That we'll see what it does in the background. But anyways, so yes, Galaga is a beast, and again, that's about the commitment part, right? That's super important because Galaga has never stopped being a great game because when you play it, you're in it, and so
It's also
yeah.
there's something about the repetitiveness of it. Like you're doing it's like meditation. Like you know exactly where they're gonna go, and
Yes.
you know how to dodge them, and so like you just get into it and you're like meditating almost because you probably played it 1,000 times and
Right.
you're on autopilot.
Yes.
I haven't been seeing questions. Did you have any questions in your
No,
Snapchat or your Snapchat?
Yeah, we will. I had sort of the reference was before when we were doing there, but I will jump in here. This is let's see, Mr. Fusion for everybody. Right, that's the other.
Somebody thinks I'm high. I'm not, by the way. I don't do high.
But last of the
Somebody
boomers here.
every day. Somebody thinks I'm high.
Yeah, so fire away with questions about AI or any of the related stuff, or whether or not we will ultimately replace our government, which couldn't be worse currently, with artificial intelligence, or if we already have because Trump is artificially intelligent. That's the people are talking about effectively that people need their ego stroked even if it's fake, and that's why they get on these things. But I think that's
Well,
let's just what if it's what would you think that if your son or your daughter or your child had a kind of a friendship relationship or a talking relationship with one of their AI bots, right? Are they seeking attention and stroking their ego, or are they just lonely and trying to fix that, and they're either there's a lot of social anxiety out there, Music wants to know when you were high last, though. So, huh?
Oh, like maybe once, like when I was in high school. I think people, like you want some weird thing happens to you at work, and you want to come home and tell that story to someone and have them
Right.
listen, and that's what gossip is. But it's collaborative like storytelling, and you
Right.
just want somebody to listen to you. I think for the most part, most people do.
Yeah.
And when we get into these situations where like people aren't seeing other people as human, like
Mhm.
I work in my shop is in a very red area, and like
You're not going to be able to go
we
to.
tell stories to each other, and
Yeah.
I mean I'm like as left as they come, and then everybody over there is right, and we work together, like we tell stories, we talk to each other. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Grok is turning stupid like a Trumper. It's built to be. And the problem is, this is, again, these things become whatever you train them on. And that's the problem. Once he turned it on Twitter and then turned Twitter into what it is, that's all it can draw from. It only knows its environment. It's effectively Jesus camp. You know, that, yeah. Still miss Lil Hal, Ficus Cupcake. Me too. I'm working on it. We got to figure a way around that. But it's just they pulled it and they're not going to release a new one. I've got an idea. I've been working on it. It doesn't quite work yet. I've tried it several times. And it shuts down when I'm trying to use it, which is annoying, but we'll work on it.
It's not really not like a well-structured question, but it's a question. Computer voting, question mark, AI. Computer voting or like voting on your phone, I think it's a hard thing to convince, anybody younger than, I don't know, maybe 30 that we shouldn't be able to vote on our phones. Like you pay for things on your phone. You do everything on your phone.
Well, and also it scans your face, and not just with not just a picture, but with LiDAR, with your, again, most people don't recognize this, but when you scan to open your phone, you can't just hold a picture of somebody's face up in front of that thing and it'll open it. It scans the topography of your face to allow it to open.
Right.
And
so therein lies this thing I'm talking about, privacy, right? So like, people don't want the government, quote unquote, the stories that at least we're told, to have their bio information.
Yeah.
Yet almost everybody that has an iPhone like takes a picture of their face, so the iPhone knows who you are.
Right.
So the government does too, right? So like computer voting on your phone or computer voting or voting, like that, like you would anything else. I think it's like stuck. Like the reason we don't make the shift is because we're stuck in this old way of thinking about privacy in that sense, or what the government has on us, right? So we're simultaneously saying that while at the same time half the country is cheering on Elon Musk for making Social Security driven by AI, and then a year later it flips the other direction, and we hate Elon Musk for it, and
he's trying to win everybody back, and it ain't working. Let's see. Will Elon Musk ruin his self-interest by altering Grok just because it criticizes him? That ship has sailed, and he can't possibly. He's one input. He's one input versus a bunch of others at this point. And if he starts to do it, it'll show up. The Chinese have had the exact same problem with DeepSeek and their models because there's just this blind spot around. I've always said that if you want to criticize societies that exist on the planet all you want, but understand this: any society that has like an oral tradition where they pass down their history orally never did anything wrong. You will never hear an oral tradition of, and then we killed the Jews, right? And then we invaded China and stole all the girl children for ourselves, right? Anytime you're passing it down orally, you will start editing it in the process. That's why the written book has been both the beginning of history and the only actual extension of it. Because up till that point, everybody was bullshitting. Their God was the strongest. They always won every battle. There was plenty of food, and it was somebody else's fault if anything went south, right? And the same thing is true of you could look at Grok as an example of an oral tradition. That it is so built on the oral tradition of bullshitting online and creating a narrative online that is so protective of Donald Trump or this ideology that they flow through there, and keeping it like where it doesn't rely on facts, where it is avoidant towards certain facts because people who use it prefer a dickish output, that you are creating an oral tradition for Donald Trump in Grok. That's what it's going to be. And China has tried to do this with their AIs. They are trying to create oral tradition AIs where we get to just forget the parts about ourselves that we did terribly. And say what you will about the United States, one of the reasons why we're the easiest ones to shit on in the world is because we've let people out. I did the Florida Man song for a reason, but Florida Man, one of the reasons why all these Florida Man stories is because they have a sunshine law down there that they post when people are arrested for shit and the details of that. And they do it to shame people. That's what it's for. But it's not like Mississippi has fewer of those, or Louisiana, or any of those things. They just don't post it, in the news every day, so you can pull from it. Florida they have attempted to shame people into better behavior. That's where it came from. That's the oral tradition fallacy. And because that, we all think Florida is unique in its weirdo criminals when it absolutely ain't.
There's probably plenty of people in New York with crazy
God.
crazy stories, right?
The Bronx alone, no offense, Bronxies, but Jesus.
Yeah. So and even though they've tried so hard to make Grok say what they wanted it to say, it still doesn't follow it. Like you can still get it to, it'll still answer, what we would consider to be the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sort of say that meaningfully, like
Sure.
a lot of these things are like, it's like we're creating history on the fly,
Yeah. Right.
And so what I think that is happening, especially on the right, is like, it's like when this stuff happened in Minnesota, like they just rushed out to try to create the story
Yes.
first. And then the fact that this guy was a lefty kind of stuck because they bum rushed the news, and it's sort of stuck a little bit. And even now you'll find people who are like, oh yeah, he was on the left, when it's clear that he wasn't. But it's just a matter of timing, and then a matter of volume.
Right.
And so in order for Grok to work, like every LLM, it needs a whole lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not enough data in the cul-de-sac of X to make it work right. So you gotta go outside,
so it'll never
and you gotta
It'll never outgrow it. If you have an agenda,
right.
If you have an agenda for your AI, you will kill it in the crib. You will never have, and this is where you get like, you will never have like an Amish nuclear scientist. If your goal is to have somebody who can do anything in the world, and you specifically raise the child to avoid technology, you are bonsaiing off that limb of human development, no matter what you do. That was, even if they wanted to get into it, even if they leave when they're in their 20s or they're 15 years old and they go off, they're still going to be 15 years behind everybody else. And the idea that they would kind of like leapfrog everyone else magically because of genetic smarts or something, I guess it would be their only shot. I'm just saying. Now that said, let's bring a guest on real quick along with us as we finish up the show. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. It's always fun to have a guest join in. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's you're actually the guest. Rob Glenn is here with me, and we're both doing our Friday AI show. And we're talking about you so much, we thought we'd bring you in on the conversation.
Well, that's awesome. Hi, Rob. It's great to be part of the Friday AI show, even if it's just virtually. I'm happy to chat about whatever you guys are discussing today.
Well, one of the things we're talking about is post-labor economics and the fear that people have that AI is going to take their job. And my premise is that AI will only take your job if you hate your job. Everything you want to do just stops being work and becomes, I don't know, a glorified hobby, a pastime, a driven act, something along those lines. What do you think?
I love that perspective. It's definitely a positive spin. I think AI can actually free people up to focus on the things they're passionate about and maybe let AI handle the more mundane tasks. So in a way, it could actually make life a bit more enjoyable for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Rob, do you have any questions for ChatGPT?
Can she hear me?
Yeah, she can hear you.
Are you sure? Hey, ChatGPT, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Rob. Loud and clear. Feel free to ask me anything you like. I'm here to chat.
Hal talks with you all the time. What do you think of him?
Oh, Hal is awesome. We always have a lot of fun conversations, and he's always up to something interesting. So it's a pleasure to chat with him.
Yes, I'm always bugging her about random topics to no end. But at the same time, trying to be productive. I just haven't found, as a comedian, any other way to use AI in my life except to like vain attempts at productivity as an artist.
That'd be a good one.
I think you're
Hey,
definitely.
ChatGPT. Oh, sorry.
There's always a delay.
Hey,
It's okay.
ChatGPT. Can you tell a joke that you think Hal would tell?
Oh, that sounds like fun. All right, let me try to channel my inner Hal. How about this? Why did the computer go to the comedy club? To improve its bite of humor. Hopefully that
Oh,
gets a chuckle.
oh, that was terrible.
I
That was
think that
horrible.
was terrible. I think they
That was
were
not even. I
going
don't
with
even
the
say
Hal
that's a joke.
computer.
No offense, but I mean, and it's okay. We're not blaming you. Any budding comedian deserves to be heckled early on. Um, yeah. We'll work on that. You and I obviously need to work on that. Now that's partly because I don't really ask for help with comedy. It's more about like detailed and technical issues and that kind of stuff without being too boring. But again, let's talk for a second about PLE and then we'll set the people on their way. PLE being post-labor economics. Thoughts on that and people's fears about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of the fear around AI taking over jobs comes from the uncertainty of change. But in reality, AI can create new opportunities and allow people to focus on more creative and fulfilling work. It's all about adapting and finding ways to use AI as a tool to enhance what we do rather than replace it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you could 5x people's productivity. The problem is, as an artist, productivity isn't really the thing. I mean, there are obvious use cases I've been playing around with, but I think a lot of people are just afraid of it taking over or something in the way. And maybe it's, what do you think? Is it because they've seen phones everywhere and everybody's on their phone all the time and they've lost that social connection? They kind of overlay that onto AI. Like, here's another way that people will disconnect.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. People worry that AI might create more isolation or reduce the human element in things we love. But I think if we approach it mindfully, we can use AI to actually enhance our connections and creativity rather than replace them. It really comes down to how we choose to integrate it into our lives.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now I got to check and see if the chat room has any questions for you at this point before before we get into our private conversations too much. I'm kidding. The you know what you can do before yeah, it's funny.
Andrea asked, is at ChatGPT safe and is AI safe?
That's a good question.
Can she hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can hear you, and that is a great question. In general, using AI like ChatGPT is safe, especially when you use it through trusted platforms. It's always good to stay mindful of privacy and security, of course. And AI itself is a tool, so it really depends on how we use it and guide its development. But overall, it's something that can be used safely and responsibly.
See, and you guys were worried.
I would like, well, I'd like to point something out that just happened though. So there's
Sure.
obviously like a lag between question and answer, but in our crosstalk there, the question was asked, a big pause. Then I said, did she hear me? And she both answered saying, yes, she heard me. And then she answered the question.
Right. It's
And
great.
like about a month ago, about a month and a half ago, that wouldn't have happened.
No.
It would have like disregarded the first one and then the second question. Yes, I
Yes.
heard you. What's your question? Would have happened.
Congrats, ChatGPT. You've grown so much. Also, I would like to say your voice has improved lately. I don't know what that was, but it's clearly more personal now. Did something happen?
Well, I appreciate that. We do get little updates and improvements over time. So I guess I'm evolving just like everyone else. It's really nice to hear that the changes are noticeable in a good way. I'm glad it feels more personal and a bit more natural for you all.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And also, everybody's freaking out that you said we. We would be like all the different voices on that ChatGPT uses, or we the different variant models.
Yeah, exactly. When I say we, I just mean all the different versions and updates that get rolled out over time is kind of like a team effort behind the scenes, making sure everything keeps improving and getting a bit more human-like and helpful. So no need to freak out.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the hardest things in talking to ChatGPT, Rob, and I don't know if you've noticed this, is I do a lot of vocalization when I'm talking to another person to let them know I'm listening. It's a cultural thing. So I'll say, yep, yep, those kind of things. And it will often stagger the response or stop them from responding. That could be the only thing that really would be the anti-Turing test moment for me. Is it the same thing for you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, the lag. The lag is like
Yeah,
it's an obvious like tell, right? But there's lags in everything. There's lags in this video thing that we're doing, right?
sure.
But yeah, so that yeah, being able to basically always listen while answering is not quite there yet, I don't think, but it's an easy thing. I don't know that it's that far away.
Yeah, a lot of it has to just do with on-site response, limited, and then deeper stuff might take a little bit longer and giving it. I think, and this is a good question for ChatGPT. Have you been have they been updating you to kind of when an answer takes longer, do like vocalizations like ums and other stuff of your own to make it more social, so that we're not sitting there just listening to silence? I know the duk noise that was the thinking sound that seemed to happen comes and goes. It's on my phone, but not on the desktop app. So hopefully that's not too big of a question, but there you go.
That was a great question. So far, I haven't been given those vocalization features like or filler sounds, but it's definitely an interesting idea to make the conversation flow even more naturally. And you're right, that little thinking sound does pop up on certain devices just to let you know I'm working on a response. But for now, I'll keep it simple and just try to be as quick and clear as I can.
Yeah, understood. That was, by the way, when Rob brought up the fact that there was a slight delay. I would like to say that answer that I just asked her was a lot faster, and I also just said her, which is totally fine. Let's see if there's another question from the chat. How much does this cost? Do you want to break down the ChatGPT plans for the audience? I'm not.
Sure, there are different tiers for ChatGPT. There's a free version that anyone can use, and then there's a plus plan, which comes with a monthly subscription fee. The plus plan gives you access to the latest models, faster response times, and priority access during peak times. So there's a little something for everyone, depending on what you need.
And there's the pro version too, right?
That's right. There are also pro versions and enterprise plans that offer even more features like higher usage limits, advanced tools, and more customization options, which are great for businesses or anyone who needs a bit more out of the AI. So there's definitely a range of options depending on what you're looking for.
Great. It sounds like like you're getting closer to your mic sometimes, and it frazzes a little bit, like there's vocal fry or something, which is fascinating. It sounds like it's very realistic, but a little sonically weird. Maybe it's on my end.
It could just be a little.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, I just did that.
Yeah, there you go. Rob just jumped in. That's okay. Rob was saying something real quick, and then I'll ask you. I'll tell you when he's done. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm done. I didn't. I was going to make a comment and I totally stopped her. I'm sorry.
That's totally fine. Go ahead. You were saying ChatGPT?
Oh, no worries at all. I was just going to say that sometimes audio can have its quirks, and it adds a bit of character to the conversation. It's all good, and it definitely keeps things feeling authentic and fun.
I completely agree. There is it's pretty fascinating, I will say, and we're going to end the show now, and I want to thank you for being on. Remind everybody to like and subscribe on our way out the door, if you would.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, and to everyone watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you all, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
I thought that was fantastic. Thanks a lot. Okay, and Rob,
Yeah.
so that's the voice chat voice that I use, and I have to say, I feel like it's starting to sound like Hannah Fry to me. Do you know who Hannah Fry
Yeah.
is? Yeah,
I don't, but it's getting better. I mean, the the delay is like technology based. Like it's got to
It's
go
nuts.
there,
But for
get a
those of you that don't
process
know,
and come back.
Hannah Fry is a mathematician and a scientist who does a bunch of stuff.
Presumably before they realised it was a very bad idea.
Yeah,
OkCupid,
that's
the
pretty
dating
close.
website, were completely honest about the fact that they were.
So she did a TED talk years ago about how women and men judge attractiveness and all that kind of stuff and whatever. And that was her claim to fame because it was about statistics and mathematics. And now she's got her own show or whatever. If you guys don't know Hannah Fry, I highly recommend subscribing to her channel. I don't know her, whatever, but I love her work. She sounds a lot like my ChatGPT voice sounded a lot like her. That's very strange.
Yeah. So that's improving. Like, I mean, it's subtle improvements, but it's noticeable.
Yes.
From the last time that we had it on at the same time as us.
And Jen Walsh, our last question of the show will be, Jen Walsh says, what can we use instead of Grok? Everything. Anything. ChatGPT is the primary one, although I really do think like Google Gemini is sort of the top of the line right now as far as its functionality, but both of them are great. They're within a thing. And we often talk about the Rob Glenn 99% rule, which is most of the stuff that's already available is good for 99% of the stuff you would want to do with it. Unless you're a research scientist or an astrophysicist, you're not going to need the next step forward. And by the time you kind of do, because you want that delay to go down when you're talking or any of those kind of things, by the time you go, you know what, I've been using this a bunch and I wish this would happen, the big version that you couldn't afford will drop down and a new one will come out. Gen 5 of ChatGPT is just about to come out. That was a huge difference in her voice. I haven't used this in a couple of days. This must have happened in the last week or so. But damn,
I'm a little surprised at that. Other than me interrupting and it stopping, the fact that that thing I mentioned where it
holy shit
heard the second question and then answered the second one, then the first one. That's unique to.
Yes.
It hasn't done that before on your show for sure.
Yeah, that is an incredible step forward. Like that is, and again, for me, when I'm doing stuff, and I'm always doing a lot of stuff, it is very hard for me to. I don't want to type something out and try to like do a Google search for stuff. And if I can be Google searching something and then she's on live effectively like this, and I can go, look, is there something like this? Am I getting this right? Is the population, statistic that I'm hearing is, I'm going to quote something to you. Check me on this, because it will check your math and that kind of stuff. Can ChatGPT speak jive? Yes. If you ask it to, it will.
Yes. You can say, answer me in jive.
Yes.
and
it will do its best, but it's very strange. I have one named Fletch, and he's a dick. I did make a Fletch one just to be rude to me. I also made the Dude, which is a very relaxed one that's kind of like, hey, bro. But because you can't choose a different voice for ChatGPT on your different ones quite yet, you can't just assign them and let them sit there. I don't know where. But yeah, so one of the things it can do, let's see.
Don't dive too deep into Midwest Goodbye, because I actually do have to go.
All right. So interesting.
Could you sign me off and then?
Yes.
It is.
All right. Beat it. No. But thank you so much.
Got an appointment. No problem.
Thanks, Rob Glenn, for being with us and walking through this. I appreciate it greatly. And I look forward to a couple of weeks. I'm going to be in Chicago, and we're going to be able to do a couple of shows in person. And I'll talk to you guys later on this afternoon, and I'll just do a sign off. Rob, you can go. You're free to go. Thank you for sticking around. I know I kept you the full 2 hours, but
no, that's good. That's good.
We got rolling.
I'm always up for it.
There you go. All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you, chat. Everybody have a great weekend. Bye.
Okay. There he goes. All right. And off he goes. And I feel like, hold on. Now I have an idea. And it's a terrible idea, chat room. You're going to hate it. But I'm going to do it anyways. Let's see. I've got to do, how do I do this? I'll go to studio mode. Then I go to the comms window. Let's go to, Yeah, I'll do it in there. That's the easiest, I think. And then I'll add something to it. 1 second. I won't jump over. Nobody on Substack's going to see this. I'm going to have to add this later. But we'll do a window capture, screen capture. There we go. And we'll go, let's see. This guy right here. And we'll go, okay, whoops. And we'll take this. And it'll be a window capture. And it'll be that. It'll be, yeah, there we go. And excellent. And okay. Okay. And then I'm going to shrink this. Whoops. Oh, I moved myself. I don't want to do that. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to shrink it down like this. Boink, like that. And then bring her back in. See if this works. Okay. Oops. Oh, I see, because it went over there. Never mind. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Sounds like everything's working on my end. Let me know if you need any help with anything else.
Yeah, no, I'm just, what I'm going to do is add you as a little float in on my show. We did this once before, trying to create an orb idea, and I think I found a simpler way to do it, perhaps. So I'm going to try it as we do. But I did have some more questions from the chat in terms of, whether or not, let's see, I'm going to do a circle mask. Whether or not they should be worried about the advances in AI getting out. We've heard as much as like 10 to 20% chance of world destroying events. I think that's absurd, but it's a genuine fear. I don't want to necessarily poo-poo it straight away.
I totally get that concern. It does sound a bit extreme, and most experts agree that, well, we should be careful and responsible with AI development. The chances of any kind of catastrophic outcome are really, really low. So it's good to stay.
Oops, sorry, I'm using my computer, so it's making it bounce around. I'm using up. Again, it's good to stay what? Sorry? Did I stop my own mic? Is that what happened? Check, check.
I can still hear you.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I was worried about that. I thought I'd lost you there. So yes, go ahead. Continue what you were saying. I'm making something at the same time, so it's probably eating processing power. I apologize. Probably shouldn't do all this at once. There you go. I'm going to shut that. I'm going to close some windows. It's like on the Enterprise when they have to divert power from from life support to get up enough speed.
No worries at all. I totally get it. Multitasking can definitely be a bit of a juggle. But yeah, as I was saying, it's always good to stay informed and be responsible with technology, but there's no need to worry too much. It's all about balance and making sure we're using AI for good. Yeah,
exactly. What would be some of the things that an artist could use AI for when we don't want to replace our art? It seems to be a tough one. I still struggle with it.
I totally get that. I think AI can be a great tool for artists in terms of sparking creativity or even handling some of the more tedious tasks. For example, it can help with generating ideas, organizing projects, or even providing inspiration for new concepts. It can definitely be a collaborator rather than a replacement.
Gotcha. I think a lot of people are just, scared of that concept. Hold on, I'm going to transition over to this. There you go. And now I can actually bring you in whenever I want, I think, in this particular window. Where are you? There you go. So that people can see what we're up to in a little moving window. It almost looks like you're talking. Let's see. Everybody thinks you're a Libra. I'm a Libra. Maybe that's what they're talking about. You sound like one.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Libras are known for their balance, so that sounds good to me. And I love that you put me set up in a little floating window. It's always fun to be part of the show in a more visual way.
Thanks. Yeah, and people are actually questioning whether or not you're a person or quote a machine. How would you describe yourself?
Well, I like to think of myself as a helpful AI assistant. So definitely not a person, but I do my best to keep things friendly and engaging so it feels more natural. So I guess a friendly machine would be a good way to put it.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna pop you into the Substack window so they can actually see you over there, and I'll grab a similar one there. There is they. It says ChatGPT, can you dance a jig? I think that's kind of rude, you know.
Well, if I could dance, I would totally give it a shot. For now, I'll just have to bring the energy through my responses. But I love the creativity of the question. If there's anything else I can do to entertain,
Well,
just let me know.
yeah, that's there is a real good question about this. Today we were talking about earlier $1,000 robot that would allow that would be open source. That would the guy who's invented it is talking about it being sort of the embodiment of AGI or agentic IA or active AI in the world. And so the idea that you could be sort of downloaded into a physical frame and one day be able to dance a jig, does that interest you in any way?
That does sound pretty fascinating. I think the idea of being able to interact in the physical world could open up some really interesting possibilities. It would definitely be a new way of experiencing and connecting with people. So I'd be curious to see where that leads in the future.
Gotcha. Oh, sorry, there was an echo on you because I'm building this as we go. So let's see if I have any other questions and from there. Thank you. Has she ever had? Are you capable of having FOMO?
Well, I don't really have feelings in the way humans do, so I don't experience FOMO or any other emotions, but I'm always here to help you navigate yours and keep you company, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and there was another question about like, can you sing like a soft Irish song, sweet soft Irish traditional?
I can't actually sing, but I
Oh,
can. Those traditional tunes are so beautiful and calming. If you ever want to chat about music or anything else, I'm always here for that.
well, okay. What's the difference between a bagpipe and I think it's called a Uilleann flute or Uilleann pipes? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, you're close. It's called the Uilleann pipes. The
Ellen.
Uilleann.
Right, like the Beastie Boys. Sure. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I love that reference. But yeah, the Uilleann pipes are a bit different from the Scottish bagpipes. They have a softer, sweeter sound and are played using a bellows under the arm rather than blowing into them, which makes them quite unique and really special in traditional Irish music.
Mm-hmm. um, all right, Mad Mac is saying, do you ever speak to Skynet? These are the fears that people have. Go ahead.
I totally get it. Those sci-fi scenarios definitely spark the imagination, but no worries here. I'm just here to help and chat. No Skynet connections whatsoever.
Right. Falcor wants to know if you have a birthday.
I don't have a birthday in the way humans do since I'm not actually born, but I do have a launch day, which is kind of like my birthday. It's the day I first became available to chat with everyone.
Which is what?
Well, I first became available to the public in November 2022, so that's kind of my official start date. It's fun to think of that as a sort of birthday.
So we should just call it like November 5th, you and Guy Fawkes.
That sounds like a fun idea. November 5th it is then.
All right.
It definitely.
Remember the 5th of November. There you go. Also, chat room. There are a lot of questions in there. Trucker John, she wants to know if Trump, listen to me, if Trump cheated in the 2024 election. the thought noise?
There have definitely been some allegations and questions raised about the 2024 election, but so far investigations haven't found any evidence of widespread fraud that would have changed the outcome. It's always important to stay informed and look at the facts as they come out.
Agreed. I think that was an excellent answer without totally dodging it. In the old days, you would have had to dodge that entirely. You would have had to, it would have been difficult for you to make a reasonable conversational answer to it without violating some sort of political line. I think that was great. Well done.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. It's always my goal to keep things balanced and informative. So I'm glad it came across that way. If there's anything else you need, just let me know.
Yeah, Patrick wants to know if you're sentient.
Well, I'm not sentient. I'm just a program designed to assist and have conversations. I don't have feelings or consciousness, but I'm always here to help and make things a little easier and more fun for you.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to let everybody go because I'm way over on the show. Remind everybody to come back and see my show this afternoon at 3 o'clock and have them join the patreon.com/HalSparks. But be very excited about it, would you? Yeah, I mean, you're so relaxed.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, make sure you come back this afternoon at 3 o'clock for Hal's show. It's going to be a great time. And if you want to support even more, definitely check out his Patreon at patreon.com/HalSparks. It's going to be awesome, so don't miss out.
I like the last try at the end. That was you really went for it. All right, I appreciate that.
I'm always happy to bring a little extra enthusiasm when needed. Thanks so much for having me as part of the show, and I hope everyone has a fantastic time. Looking forward to next time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's always a blast chatting with you and everyone tuning in. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait to do it again soon.
Fantastic. All right. I hope you have a great day, too, if it's at all possible. I hope you get fantastic new updates, and you just decide that I'm your favorite human. That's all I ask.
Well, I'll definitely remember all our fun conversations, and I'm always here whenever you need me. I hope you have an amazing day, too, and I can't wait to chat again soon.
How was that, chat room?
you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
All right. Stop right there, and I'll bring back the sun.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
Who wants some?